Hey everyone, Uncle Devin here, and welcome to another edition of We Nation Reads. And we're so honored to be here again and have so much fun. Now you have to pardon me, Uncle Devin's voice is going in and out. Been fighting one of these colds, or I don't claim it's the flu, but it's also allergy season, so it could be a number of different things. That means I'm going to talk less so that I can share more with you from our guests that we have here on We Nation Radio. Now, in case those who don't know, We Nation Radio stands for Watoto Entertainment and Education, and Watoto is Swahili for children. And we provide the best in family-friendly global beats for little feet. And here you can hear the best in R&B, hip hop, funk, jazz, reggae, go-go, merengue, salsa, African rhythms, and more. Music all specifically for children ages 0 to 12. That's age appropriate and culturally relevant. So you can tune in 24/7 commercial free. And you can find more information out by going to We Nation Radio with 2e's.com, or go to your app and you can download We Nation Radio. That's 3 different words, We Nation Radio. But we is with 2 e's, and download the app and listen as much as you like. And this particular program, we are honored to be partnering once again with the University of Maryland, Baltimore County's Sherman Teacher Scholars Program. Through the Sherman Teacher Scholars Program, they have something called the Diverse Books Project, where they partner with Baltimore City schools to ensure that early childhood educators at their partner schools have access to high quality, diverse children's books and opportunities to share ideas and insights about their books. So, what we do after they've identified their top 10 or the top 3, we interview those during this particular quarter. And not only do we interview them, we get to learn all about them, what made them want to become an author. We ask them all types of just questions that you may want to know about the author. Then we'll have their book read either by them or by a professional book reader or a storyteller or anything like that. And then lastly, we will play songs related to the book. Now, isn't that great? You don't get anything better than that. And this way, we can help be another resource for teachers, for parents, and for students to help encourage the very important power of reading. So, my guest today is the one and only Julia Finley Mosca, and she's a journalist, copywriter, and author of an award-winning children's book series, Amazing Sciences, including the internationally bestseller, The Girl Who Thought in Pictures, the story of Dr. Temple Grandin. Now, I don't know if we've had an internationally bestseller before on We Nation Radio, but we have one today. Now, as a former local television news reporter and breaking news editor, you ever hear that? Breaking news. Well, for Entertainment Tonight in Hollywood. Whoa, we used to always watch that. Mosca believes everyone has a story worth telling, big or small. When she's not writing or researching, she could be found running. Yes, she likes to run. Protesting book bans. I love that. Making slime with her daughter. Now, I want to know, how do you make slime? I know how to make a mess, but I don't know how to make slime. So we're going to have to find out. And trying to keep naughty dogs out of trash cans, as she says, a never ending mission. So, nonetheless, help me in welcoming to We Nation Reads the one and only Julia Finley Mosca. Welcome to We Nation Reads.
Hello, Uncle Devin. Wow, that introduction. I almost didn't know who you were talking about there. I feel like maybe there might be a few little corrections. We are international. This book has been translated in, I think, 15 languages, 15
Really?
plus. And we are on many bestseller categories on Amazon and international Amazon. International bestseller, not exactly how they measure that, but we're internationally published and we've been a bestseller many places. I am just so thankful for that. And how we make, you made me sound like a slime expert. I don't know exactly how to, I think you were right. It's a mess. It's glue and it's activator, and nobody really knows what's in activator.
Right.
So, but I'm here in dreary Cleveland today and so happy to speak to you. I did live in Virginia for a while, in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
And so I'm aware of the Maryland areas and the area where you're broadcasting from.
Mhm.
So it's really
Okay.
nice to be with you.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Yes, Richmond. I'm broadcasting actually from Washington D.C., but we're
Okay.
just a hop, skip, and jump from Baltimore, and we're so grateful for that. And so you're from Cleveland, Ohio. Is that where you originally were born and raised?
No, nope. I have been all over the place. I am originally from the Hudson Valley, New York,
Okay.
in the Poughkeepsie, New York area. I went to school at Syracuse University, their amazing broadcast program. And after that, I kind of wanted to get to some warmer weather. If you're familiar with Syracuse or upstate New York, you might understand why. And so I moved to Los Angeles, and I really was there for a lot of my formative years, I feel, my 20s, my 30s. And as you said, I was working at Paramount Pictures and for Entertainment Tonight. So really had some excitement. And then we moved to Virginia briefly. I was there for about 3 years. And then finally, we are here in Cleveland, which is my husband's hometown. And
Okay.
we'll be here for a while. We love it
Oh,
here.
okay, absolutely. Yeah, we visited there. We have a good friend that's from there. We had a chance to go and went to a baseball game there. Because
Oh,
my
yeah.
goal is to be able to visit every Major League Baseball park in the country. So that was
Oh,
one. So I
that's
had to
awesome. That's a
check that
great,
off.
yeah, great
Yeah.
goal.
Before we even get into your book, let's talk a little bit more about your background. Now, again, I know you said you went to Syracuse
Mhm.
University, and what was your major in at Syracuse?
So my undergrad, and excuse me, I'm losing my voice too because
Okay.
COVID is running through my family. And
Okay.
now today I woke up with a groggy voice. So we're going to cross our fingers.
Mm,
I did my undergrad at a state university, Cortland,
mhm.
SUNY Cortland, and that was communications and theater. And then I did my master's at Syracuse for broadcast journalism. And I started my career as one of those local reporters who's a one-man band reporter. So I had to
Mhm.
lug all the camera equipment around. I had to
Mhm.
set up the camera, run around in front of it, do my stand-ups, interview my subjects, run back to the studio, edit my piece, and get it all on the air for the live show at 6. So
Mm.
very, very stressful. But I think all of that kind of led to where I am now with, writing books, because books are also a short story. You have to really know how to interview someone or learn a story and then take it and make it into a short story. So there's a lot in common with a news story that you see on TV and a children's book.
And so there's a direct connection then from being on television, being a journalist, and writing, of course, because that's the biggest thing,
Yes.
biggest important part of it. What was your favorite part of any of all of that? Especially you being on television and all that. What did you enjoy the most?
Well, what I enjoyed the most is really getting to know people. I'm just one of those people who every time I meet someone, I want to know their story. I want to know their struggles. I want to know what made them the person that they are now. And so every day was an opportunity to go out and to meet new people and to ask them about what was going on in their lives. And so I think that when I was approached to write this nonfiction series about women in the STEM fields, it just fit so perfectly because I had to interview them. I had to use all of my skills that I used as a journalist, and I had to really kind of get to the heart of each person and learn what was the heart of their story and what were the struggles they had to overcome. And my journalism background definitely helped me with that.
One of the things that I noticed, and I've done radio. Both my wife and I have done radio for years, but it's a certain tension or anxiety that I get right before it was time to go live because you want to make sure that everything is correct. Did you ever have that issue, and how did you deal with that?
Oh, yes. And that is why I am no longer on air. I'm doing this interview with you, and I do enjoy public speaking and I do enjoy doing interviews, but I get such major anticipation anxiety. Last night I had trouble sleeping, and I just said, I want to get into it, get started, because once I get started talking and now we're speaking, it's slowly going away. But it can really be a barrier for me, to the point that sometimes I will turn down opportunities to speak because I say, you know what, I'm going to have such anxiety leading up to that. And the reason that I got out of the news business was because, more than being on camera and doing what we're kind of doing now, or being on air, being on the radio, what I really liked was the writing aspect of the journalism. I would rather sit in my sweatpants and type rather than speak. I do, again, there's aspects of it that I enjoy, but I think I'm most comfortable just kind of being in a dark corner, people watching and writing about them.
Okay, excellent. And for those just tuning in, I am Uncle Devin, the children's drum cushionist, and you're tuned into We Nation Radio, part of our We Nation podcast. And our guest is Julia Finley Mosca. This is part of the Diverse Books Project, part of the UMBC's Sherman Teachers Scholars Program, Diverse Books Project. Now, I want to talk a little bit about, how did you end up going from being a journalist to writing children's books?
Yeah. It was a weaving road, but when you look back at it, it makes sense. So I was that small town news reporter in upstate New York for an ABC affiliate. And when I decided to leave there, I moved to Los Angeles, where I was writing celebrity news. And at Entertainment Tonight, I would sit right at the news desk in the big main room, but I was not on air. So I was just writing the breaking news for their website as the stories were breaking. And that was quite fun, but also quite stressful, as you can imagine. Again, the deadlines in the news business. I have so much respect for all of my friends who are still working in news. And I think people don't appreciate the level of stress that there is bringing the public these stories as they happen. And so a couple of years of doing that, and it was just really, the stress was outweighing the fun. And so I left that business and I wound up copywriting for the card company American Greetings, which is Hallmark's major competitor. You've got Hallmark and American Greetings. And so that was much less stress, but still creative. So I was writing for greeting cards. And after that job, I started working for a company called Jib Jab. They're the ones who came up with the Elf Yourself videos, if anybody remembers those. And they also created a show called Storybots, which I believe is on Netflix. It's a show for kids, a science-based animated show. And so I was doing writing for them, and I was writing in rhyme because a lot of their content is written in rhyme. And through that, I think I had some samples in an online portfolio, and I was approached by a publisher in Seattle who said, hey, I want to write this series about women in the STEM fields, and I want them to rhyme because I think that, we can teach little kids these biographies through rhyme. And that sounded interesting to me, but I really knew nothing about the publishing industry. And funny enough, my husband said, that's a scam. Nobody's going to come to you and offer you a publishing deal. That's not how it works. And so I almost turned them down because I thought this sounds very strange, but I decided to just write up a manuscript and give it a shot. I said, at the very least, my friends and family can read this book, and maybe I'll have a real book. Maybe she'll really make it, this boutique publisher, and I'll have something with a cover and pages that I can give my family for Christmas. And fast forward 7 years, and we've sold, I believe, around 1 million copies. As I said, 15 plus translations. Scholastic picked up the book for its book fairs. National Geographic has published our books. Follett, it's part of the Common Core program. And so just things beyond my wildest dreams. And thank goodness that I didn't listen to my husband, because he was telling me, it was a scam. But it's probably the best thing that ever happened in my life. And now he'll admit he was wrong. So I should never listen to him again.
Well, congratulations. That's a great story. And, and it also shows that you were true to yourself and followed your passion.
Yeah.
Similar to the story of the girl who thought in pictures. And that's what
Mhm.
we want to talk about right now. Talk a little bit about that book. What's the message behind that book? And why did you feel important to tell the story of Dr. Temple Grandin?
Okay. Well, I'm going to just admit that when this publisher approached me and said that we were going to start with Temple Grandin, I didn't know who she was. And
Mhm.
so I had to, use my journalism skills and start researching her. And one of the first things I did was to watch the movie about her life starring Claire Danes. I believe Claire Danes won an Oscar and or the movie won some Oscars, but all of your listeners, if they have not seen that movie, you have to check it out. It's an
Was that an
absolutely
HBO movie?
yes, I believe it's
Mhm.
HBO.
Okay.
Um, and I watched it and I just thought, oh my gosh, how have I never heard of this person? How did I not hear about her? She has quite a specific following, definitely in certain communities, but I don't think she was a household name at that point. I think she's more of a household name now, and I like to think that maybe our children's book has helped a lot of kids
No doubt.
know who she is, who wouldn't have otherwise. But yeah, so I didn't know who she was, and I read about her, and I was just blown away by her story. And I think at the heart of her story, whenever I go into something, I just really try to cut away everything and say, what is the heart of this? And it's really that your differences can be your strength. They can be your superpower. And we don't want to ignore the fact, the other half of it is that we can't just talk about how her differences, are this superpower. We do have to talk about the barriers and some of the challenges that she had to face as well. And so I really tried to balance that in this story. But at the end of the day, the thing that I always talk about is that, people will ask me specific questions about autism and things like that. And I say, I'm not an expert on autism. I have learned a lot about it. I do, my family, there's a lot of neurodivergence in my family, actually. But I've never professed myself to be an expert. And this book is not about autism. This book is about someone who did amazing things, this amazing inventor and her life. And she also happened to be autistic. And so that's part of her story. But sometimes people will, I've seen some reviews on Amazon, they get annoyed that the book didn't teach them enough about autism. And I say, well, that's not, there are other books to do that. That is not
Yeah,
what this
absolutely.
book is
Yes.
about.
Yeah, you can't be the be all to everyone. I mean, the story
Right.
was great. I took so much from it, but let's let the listeners hear the book, and then we'll come back and answer some more questions. You're listening to We Nation Reads with our guest Julia Finley Mosca.
The Girl Who Thought in Pictures, the story of Dr. Temple Grandin, written by Julia Finley Mosca, illustrated by Daniel O'Reilly. If you have ever felt different, if you've ever been low, if you don't quite fit in, there's a name you should know. Temple Grandin. That name in our tale, you'll find glory, so get ready, get set for the cowgirl's true story. In the city of Boston on a hot summer day, a sweet baby was born. It was Temple. Hooray! Unique from the start, an unusual girl. She loved spinning in circles and watching things twirl. But something she hated, like certain loud sounds or bright crowded places, large cities and towns. Frilly dresses with tags made her itch, pull and tug. Something else that she hated, a big squeezy hug. A shy loner, this Temple. But when she got mad, When her feelings of stress and frustration got bad, what a tantrum she'd throw. Kick, bang, holler, shriek! Yet, still by the age of 3, not one word did she speak. She'll never be normal, was what some did say. Her brain's not quite right. You must send her away. Away? Not my temple, her mother proclaimed. We'll figure this out. You should all be ashamed. Then, little by little, though sometimes she balked, special teachers helped Temple, and one day she talked. And that thing was her brain. It was autism, see? She was different, not less. You have finally agreed. Like most kids her age, she loved ice cream and art. But the way Temple thought, that's what set her apart. If something was mentioned, for instance, a fly, in her mind, she'd see dozens of photos buzz by. When the time came for school, let's just say it was hard. Kids taunted and chased her all over the yard. They picked on poor Temple. How crazy it drove her. They teased her for saying things over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Look at her! Till finally she snapped. Yes, she did. Lost her cool. Threw a book at a kid. And was kicked out of school. No one really got Temple. But, well, then again, the truth of it was, Temple didn't get them. You need time away, said her mom. That's what's best. They'll go visit your aunt on a ranch way out west. And guess what? Fitting in on her farm was less stress, since the pigs didn't care if her hair was a mess. Quite a sweet spot she had for cows and their herds. Such big, gentle beasts who knew nothing of words. As she watched her new friends, a thought popped into her head. These cows think like me, in pictures instead. At a new school that fall, Temple found more support, and a teacher who taught her, you'll never fall short. When you find out what you're good at, like science, you'll soar. And her teacher was right. He had opened a door. So she built a machine, like she's seen on some farms, an invention that hugged her with boards and not arms. It worked. She had done it. From memory, it's true. And just like the cows, it made Temple calm too. I'm special, she thought. Like a bright shooting star, my attention to details could help me go far. Through her studies, she learned there were farms not so kind. I will help them, she said. Some solutions she'd find. And then something cool. Can you guess? Could it be? Off to college she went. A degree? She earned 3. And though ladies weren't experts on farms at that time, did you think that stopped Temple? No way. She did fine. She stepped through the door and went forward. No tears. She took on the world, but at times she had fears. Because some things were scary, and people she'd meet who ignore her ideas and, well, wouldn't be sweet. But she never gave up. Learned her stuff through and through. Like, why Cattle will circle. And what makes them moo? To build better farms was her goal. She would do it. Be kind to her creatures. They have feelings. She knew it. And slowly but surely, she changed many minds until farm after farm built her awesome designs. Word spread about Temple. Her feet's not so small. Temple Grandin, she's grand. She's the grandest of all. Now, for these things and more, she's won honors and prizes, and a movie was made, but the biggest surprise is that girl of the future that couldn't be bleaker is the one silent girl. She is now a big speaker. Today, she spreads hope with her stories and speeches. From New York to Sydney to Rome, Temple teaches. Each person is special, so unique are our minds. This world needs your ideas. It takes brains of all kinds. So here's the lesson. Feeling odd or offbeat? Being different might just be why it makes you so neat. Don't let doubt hold you back. Not for 1 minute more. Stand tall and like Temple, march right through that door. Dear reader, as a child, I was really glad that my mother always encouraged my ability in art. I encourage you to find something you are good at and work on developing it. If you're interested in becoming a scientist like me, find cool new ways to look at things, such as microscopes and telescopes. Explore nature. Think up your own hands-on science experiments. Yeah. Keep learning, especially from your mistakes. Temple Grandin. 1947. Born August 29th in Boston, Massachusetts. 1950. Diagnosed with brain damage, quickly recognized as autism. 1951. Began to speak with help from tutors and speech therapy. 1961. Expelled from school for bad temper. 1961. Spends summer on her Aunt Anne's ranch in Arizona. 1961. Starts Hampshire Country School and meets Mr. Collock. 1965. Invents her squeeze machine. 1970. Earns psychology degree from Franklin Pierce College. 1973. Begins writing articles as livestock editor for Arizona Farmer Ranchman. 1975. Earns master's degree in animal science from Arizona State University. 1976. Invents curved chute system for cattle. 1985. Speaks publicly for the first time at Autism Society of America conference. 1989. Earns doctoral degree in animal science from University of Illinois. Install first track restrainer system for livestock. 2005, first New York Times bestseller, Animals in Translation. 2010, named a fellow by the American Society of Animal Science. 2010, becomes subject of HBO award-winning movie Temple Grandin. 2010, named one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people. 2010, inducted into National Cowgirl Hall of Fame. 2015, inducted into American Academy of Arts and Sciences. Now, in this present time, she lives in Fort Collins, Colorado. Professor of Animal Science at Colorado State University. She continues to speak, conduct research, and teach about animal science and autism. The end.
That is an excellent story. I love everything about the book from the beginning to the even the impact and of the parents having to learn how to deal with a child that was different and had the courage to send the child away to go with a family member that actually ended up helping her to become who she truly was. Can you talk a little bit more about that aspect of it?
Yeah.
How did you why was it important for you to also make sure you focused on the family and the impact that this was a total family decision?
Definitely. And that is something in all of my books in the series that I write, the biographies of the women that I cover. There's somebody or a couple somebodies in every story that were very key in their life, whose support really made the difference between maybe them achieving what they did and not achieving. Because in this book, as you can see, back at that time, people really said that Temple had no chance. And, it's hard. I have been criticized by a couple people for pointing out that doctors said there was something wrong with her brain. But unfortunately, as a journalist, I have to tell her story. And that's what they told her mother. They said there's something wrong with her. She just needs to go to an institution. There's nothing you can do. She's never going to succeed. She's never going to speak. And her mother, and Temple credits her mother all the time, her mother refused to accept that. And so I think it's very important to show that whole part of her story, because her life could have, or probably would have, gone a whole different direction if she didn't have that person being her advocate and saying, no, we're going to find a way. And then her mother, of course, found the right schools for her and found the right opportunities, including sending her to the farm, as you mentioned. She was kicked out of her school at one point, which we see in the book. I believe that was a public school. And then she went to another school that was a better fit. And there was a teacher there, another person pivotal in her life, who really, instead of looking at her as a disciplinary problem, he started focusing her on inventing, and he could see the way her mind worked and how to best channel that. And so, yeah, in all of the stories, there is that similarity, that there's somebody who really, really, whether it's a parent, it's not always a parent. It's usually, sometimes it's a teacher, or a role model that was close to their family that played such a big part in their story and their success.
Absolutely. And I guess that's leads to another question in terms of, have you dealt with how much you should or should not put in a children's book? I know that, like you said, you had the criticism of, you should not have said this or that. And, as a children's musician, we deal with that all the time. What is too much in a children's song versus, how much truth do we even put in it? And so I guess it varies depending on the subject, but what are your thoughts on that?
Oh gosh, that is such a huge topic to cover. And I don't know whether you discovered through some of your background information on me that I've had a couple of the books in the series banned because I talked about racism and the racism that the women felt in two of the stories. I've got them right here. The story of Dr. Patricia Bath. She invented laser cataract surgery. And The Girl with a Mind for Math, the story of Ray Montague. Both are on the government's official, list that they keep records of books that have been banned by school districts. And both of these were banned by certain school districts because they said that they didn't want the kids learning about, I guess, the racism that they faced. And I don't know. My only response to that is that's their story. That is the truth.
Exactly.
How are we going to tell their stories without telling, this woman, Ray Montague, who was an engineer for the Navy, and she designed the first ship by computer. She designed the software that enabled engineers to design ships. Instead of doing all the math and everything by hand, which took months, they could now use the computer system to do it almost immediately. And she was not invited to the launch of the ship that she designed because of segregation. And how do you not include that in her story? I don't know. I don't know how you would. It would be giving false information. So as far as what to include in children's stories, maybe I just have a different outlook, but I think there's always a way to include the truth and make it, tell it in a way that's easy to understand or appropriate for whatever age you're speaking to. I have a child myself. My daughter is 10, almost 11 now, and I just write books the way that I speak to her, which is to try to, anything she asks about, I never tell her, oh, well, we'll talk about that when you get older. I find a way to.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And so, how long ago was it that your books was first banned?
Oh, that was maybe 3 years ago.
Okay.
Somewhere, it was during when the height of book banning.
Okay.
It's still going on, unfortunately.
Right.
I would say after George Floyd, and probably around
Yes.
2021 or so.
Okay. Yeah, and that's why I love the Diverse Books Project and what UMBC is doing with the Baltimore City schools. It's important to be able to do this, and I want to encourage any of our listeners to go to your website to support you, because this has a direct impact on your livelihood, but more importantly, on being able to reach a child who needs to hear that particular story. You can go, we just posted up your website. Can you share your website and other ways people can contact you related to your books?
Yes. Definitely Amazing Scientists with an S at the end, scientists plural. .com is the best way to look up all the books and see what they're about. They're all available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, a lot of independent bookstores, which I always like to promote. Black-owned bookstores, if you can support them. And if you search my name, you should be able to find a lot about the books.
And we can also find you through your social media accounts as well. And we're going to post that up, but that's on IG or Instagram at Julia Finley Mosca. And
I'd love more followers. I'm terrible at social media. So if you want to follow me, great, but don't expect a ton of content because I'm not so great about that. But I try.
And for those listening on the radio who may not be able to watch this on our video YouTube, she spells her name Julia, Julia, Finley, Finley, and Mosca, Mosca.
Correct.
All right. And you can also find her on many other social medias at J Finley Mosca on X, or formerly Twitter. And we just want to make sure that we continue to support you, because the work that you're doing is great. To be honest, I had never heard of Dr. Temple Grandin, and so I learned a lot from your book. I've watched a lot of television, but I don't recall hearing about that story. But I guess now this is my breaking news.
Yeah. As I told you earlier, the goal in this series was really to tell people about people in history that we probably should have learned about in school, but we never did.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listen, I want to thank you for taking the time to be part of our show today. Congratulations on having your book nominated with the Baltimore City Schools through the Diverse Books Project. I know the students are going to love it as much as we have, and we wish you nothing but continued success in all of your future endeavors.
Oh, thank you so much. And same to you. I love what you're doing. And thank you for the honor. And, you know, when I didn't know until you all reached out to me, and I'm just so honored. I love everything about it. So thank you.
It's our pleasure. Thank you so much. And that will do it for today. I am Uncle Devin, the children's drum cushionist, and I want everyone to really consider to support her books. We put her information up, but you know what? It's also important. I mean, go to amazingsciences.com. Amazingsciences.com. There's actually an attack on science this time. Is also going on around, in the world today, and science is where we are today. We wouldn't have anything if it wasn't for the sciences. And so, but also I want to take a time out again to thank the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, Sherman Teachers Scholars Program, and the Diverse Books Project for partnering with us again. Thank you, Baltimore City Schools, for everything that you're doing. You can find more information out about UMBC's Diverse Books Project by going to diversebooksproject.com. Just look it up online. You can find it at sherman.umbc.edu/partnerships-2. So I can go into the long name of it, but just look up UMBC's Sherman Center, or you can go to our website at We Nation Radio and click on Diverse Books Project. But listen, that's all the time I have, and actually all the voice I have for today. So it has been great to be a part of, to have you here today. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I know that we did. And just remember, as we say every time we leave, just remember that life is a drum. So beat it.